OCO, my name's Jeff Roten, and this is Cherokee Coffee Talk. Today I have Trae Ratliff, District 1 candidate for Tribal Council. Where are you from, and tell us about yourself.
Sure. Born and raised right here in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Um, Trae Ratliff is my official name, but I was born to a traditional family in Welling, Oklahoma. My birth name was Nick Carlisle Sunday the Third, which is the same as my original great grandfather that was on the DOS rolls. Um, my mom and my biological father had an early split, and so I was somewhat separated from the Sunday name. And luckily, I was still welcome in by the family, as even though my father wasn't here. So um, currently, I say currently, I just rolled off of the city council here in Tahlequah. I've been a city councilor for the last 4 years. I'm really just adamant about trying to make a positive change. Similar to how I felt like I had a really good impact on the city. This seat became available, and the timing matched up. And I'm been passionate about the Cherokee people, and I really feel like I'm the one that can bring something different to the tribe. Somebody who's not just going to get in line and come into the fold, and something that's a little bit different. And so I think I've got the sources and the background, and I've got a little bit of in-depth knowledge and experience that I think it'll take to be successful on the Cherokee Nation Tribal Council.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate you. Hey, it takes a special person to step up to the plate, and there's a lot going on out there. Can you give us three things that you want to focus in on for District 1, and then Cherokee Nation in general for all the other citizens?
Well, sure. I mean, one of the things that I really feel like would directly affect, which is probably the reason that you called, there needs to be a little bit of election reform. I truly hope that I'm able to make some of that reform before I take office, assuming that I'm elected, or if I'm lucky enough to get elected. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute, but there needs to be some change as far as the secrecy of the ballots. That's something that I feel like will make an impact before I even sign on or take the oath. Another thing that I really feel like is needed in the Cherokee Nation is for my district specifically is childcare. When I was growing up, there used to be a program called NYSP. So the National Youth Sports Program was a federally funded grant that went to NSU. NSU put it on through the health and human performance piece, and it's really became a something to get the kids out of the house in the summer months. And so I think that probably across Indian country, but especially here in the Tahlequah, Holbert, Shady Grove, Lost City area, a lot of those mom and dads still need to get up and go to work every day, and leaving those kids at home to wear a hole in the couch and play on their phones and clean out the fridge. If we can find some alternatives for those kids to come and learn a little bit about our history, learn some of the language, get a little bit of exercise, go play catch, go swimming at the NSU pool, all those things. I don't see why we as a tribe couldn't allocate some funding to bring a program very similar to that back, which would include bringing these college kids back that are on the scholarship program, that have an obligation to to repay some some of those volunteer hours that need to be used. I think collectively, we have the folks and we have the facilities, and it just really takes a game plan. And I think that would be a huge help to the people here in this general area, to bring the kids and drop them off at 9 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so that's one thing for sure, Jeff, that I think would be one of the first things on my list.
And I think that brings up a great point. It's when you talk about the kids, they always look up to the older kids. And I think, when I was in the first grade, I always looked up to the seniors in high school,
Absolutely.
and something like that, like you were saying, have them come back in the summertime or whenever they're back, on a weekend or something, if it worked out, to just, it's almost like that big brother, big sister.
Sure. Well, and you remember when we were kids,
Yeah.
gosh, when mom and dad would go to work and we'd sit there all summer long. For us, it was some video games, of course, the old Nintendos and Segas, and then the beginning of MTV, which probably wasn't great. But at the same time, now these kids have access to these devices, to YouTube, um, and video games that are interactive video games. So you're interacting with people that you've never met, and so I think there's just, for me, there's truly concerns about everything that I mentioned before: leaving the kids home all day, playing on video games, playing on YouTube, cleaning out the fridge, wearing a hole in the couch. I think that we've got a solution for that, and it just really takes a little bit of reallocation and somebody with a concept and some ideas to make it happen. And I think I'm that guy. So
Hey, it's awesome.
yeah, so that's one plan, Jeff.
Yeah.
Something as far as the across the board. 6 years ago, coming up 6.5 years ago, I made a proposal to the Cherokee Nation Tribal Council. The concept was essentially a vertically integrated beef production program that essentially would allow our beef producers to sell directly back to the tribe. So envision this. I've been in the cattle business for the last 20 years. So I go out to the tribe. I meet with somebody. They give me a specific ear tag, says Cherokee Nation on it, or a big CN. I take that back and I tag those calves of mine with those tags. And Cherokee Nation then puts a buyer at the sale barn. So they're at Tahlequah on Saturday. They're in Stillwell on Tuesday, Oklahoma City on Wednesday, Tulsa on Monday, and they're looking for those ear tags. And the Cherokee Nation then takes ownership of those animals. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Chilocco. The Chilocco Indian School was a boarding school. It's up near Newkirk, Oklahoma, in the central north part of the state. Cherokee Nation has 4,000 acres on that property. And so those calves would then be shipped to winter wheat, along with the farmland there, where we could create a feedlot. And so we feed out our own animals with our own farming procedures, and then bring them back to what's now the 1839 Beef Company, which was one of the original five phases that I presented back in 2016. I think there's an intrinsic value in being able to be reliant upon our own food. Okay. And so beef is just one thing that I feel like is the easiest, lowest hanging fruit. The tribes, I think we're last to the table on this deal. The Quapaws are doing it. The Choctaws are doing it. I spent months and months with the gentleman from the Seminole tribe in Florida. And he was so envious. He was so envious of the resources that we have, because it's so hot down there that they have to take those cattle and ship them to West Texas, where they go to a feedlot out there. Right. And then they have to ship them all the way back to be slaughtered. So that shipping is a huge cost when you're talking about going from Florida to Amarillo. Whereas here we've got our own property in north central Oklahoma that's owned by us that we could utilize for that. So I feel like there's a tremendous opportunity across the board for us to not only supply our elders, our commodities, our restaurants, our schools with beef that we produced on our own reservation.
100%. I totally agree with you on that. And I've actually had a situation being part of Major League Fishing where I'm dealing with conservationists and biologists, and they were telling me about our program, and I thought, we have the beef aspect. Why not fish? I've got some private biologists that are actually consulting with tribes. I think even one up in Kansas that are building the big gigantic fish ponds for catfish.
Right. Yeah, they've got what are they call aquaponics.
Yeah. And there's an opportunity for jobs and food on the table for our citizens and for commercial. So, and that goes hand in hand with the beef. So, and that can be put up anywhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a couple of things. And I agree that fish, and that's what's, I had a feed the other night, and I talked a little bit about this when we were at the Holbert Park. We were having Indian tacos. We've got some friends of mine from the Fry Bread Factory came down, and they cooked up the Indian tacos, and we served them up. And, and my question is, where did that beef come from? Right. So you got hamburger on your Indian taco. Where did that come from?
Right.
Nobody knows. Right. No, we don't know. And so if it was purchased at 1839 Beef Company, and we knew that the only beef that came through there was raised on our land by our people, I mean, to me, I would just sleep a lot better at night knowing that.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. So tell us about the election cycle, where it's at right now. I mean, it's in the I mean, it's gone nuclear now, it seems like. So
Absolutely. Well, of course, the absentee ballots were mailed out a week ago today. They started showing up on the doorsteps of our citizens on Thursday evening, Friday of last week, and so it's been hot and heavy as far as the absentee ballot voting process. So for the most part, the majority of those absentee ballots are sent and returned back within the first week, and then it kind of waterfalls over the next 3 or 4 weeks until election day. Of course, you're seeing more candidates are having events, having rallies, and so there's a lot of we're down to a month from today. So is today the 4th? Yeah, today's May the 4th.
yeah,
So less than a month. So it's crunch time for sure.
absolutely. Well, it's social media is just blowing up right now, and on election commission folks not getting their absentee ballots, emails, and so forth and so on. And
Mhm.
then I think, what was it, today or was it yesterday? It came up about see-through of these ballots, I guess on the paper or something. Can you elaborate on that? Or
Right. So I had and this started a month ago. I was in a and I'll leave out names and
sure,
details, but someone that in the community that you would think would not ask me this question. They said, "Trae, can they see who I vote for?" And I've never voted by absentee before, so I requested one. And I thought, I'm thinking to myself, surely not, right? I mean, surely not. And so I came to my office Sunday. Of course, we had an event Friday night. Saturday, all day Saturday was Red Fern. Sunday, I'm down here at the office, and I pull out my absentee ballot. I pull out my absentee ballot and I vote, and I put it inside of the secrecy envelope, right? And then that goes inside of the affidavit, or the one that's supposed to be, the one that's supposed to be notarized. And then you slide it down into the one that's, the official ballot envelope. And so I sat it on my desk and I thought, surely not, right? Surely that's it. So long as this goes straight to the election commission, or it goes into into my mailbox,
right.
shouldn't be a problem. Well, in my this is a pin light, and so in my desk drawer, my pin light, I just held it up. I just held it up to the back of the envelope. I was I got really nervous. I mean, all kinds of thoughts really started going through my head, and I thought, why would they not? Because I'm in the insurance business. I've been in the insurance for 15 years, and so lots of documents that we deal with, checks. I mean, everybody, when you get a check when you get a check at home, it's in a security envelope. And so it has the grid on the background, in the back, so you can't just hold it up to the light and see what it says.
Right.
And the fact that our secrecy envelopes are not security envelopes, to me, that's the big difference. That's because that's all it takes. I mean, that's all it takes is you just take this,
Hmm.
put secrecy on the front, and create a security envelope so that it's got preferably rectangular square block grid on the inside, so that you can't see the rectangular square or the rectangular blocks of the absent, of the ballot itself.
Right.
So I got really nervous, and I didn't know which direction to go, because I don't want to get tossed on this deal.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I don't want to create some sort of conspiracy. But at the same time, I think it's a true and legitimate concern with an easy solution. In my mind, it's an easy solution. So I filed a complaint with the election commission. I sent them some pictures, and I just filled out a formal request, formal complaint. And at a minimum, I would think that they would be able to resolve this issue before a runoff.
Sure.
I do have concerns about how many people are still voting currently.
Hmm.
And the gray area is really when somebody knocks on your door to notarize your ballot, and you let them notarize it, and then they say, well, do you want us to mail that for you?
Hmm.
There's nothing illegal. There's nothing illegal there. They're just trying to make the process easier. They want to make sure that ballot gets turned in. I get it. But the fact that you can put a light to it is concerning.
Yeah. And if that person who takes it and sees that and goes, and if I disagree with, who they voted for or something like that, then who knows what happens to that ballot? I mean, crazy things happen.
And I think there's a simple solution, right? So I think there truly is a simple solution. It's just, there really was no way for me to truly answer the person that asked me a month ago when they were requesting it, if if the answers could be seen or if their votes could be seen, until I got on Friday, right? And then I didn't look at it until Sunday. And so I think we're behind the 8 ball a little bit. I feel like, and especially across the reservation. I mean, and there is such a need for the absentee. I'm not negating the fact that we need the absentee vote. That's not the question. We need it. I mean, there's Cherokee people across this country, and there's absolutely no way that it's feasible for them to show up at a polling place, right? And it's probably not feasible that somebody's going to come to their door in most cases to try to collect that ballot. But on the reservation here locally, we've really created this atmosphere of this is what we're accustomed to, is that somebody's going to come, ask to notarize that ballot, and somebody's going to ask, if they want you to mail it for them. And it's just how we do it. And it may not change anything, but I don't think there's any reason to leave that gray area there. Why would we not? If we find a solution for a problem, let's take some action. So that's what I'm asking from the Election Commission.
Absolutely. Well, it's valid. I mean, that's, I saw those posts, looking through it online and everything. So, with that being said, do you see right now, a lot of talk out there? What did you think about the debate the other day? I thought it was very constructive and there was a lot of dialogue going on. Would you like to see a second debate for the principal chief?
Absolutely. Why not? Yeah. I mean, why would we not? It's the same thing with the ballots. Why would we not fix it?
Absolutely.
Why would you not want to have, another debate? And honestly, I'd like to see one between the District 1 candidates in all candidates.
Yeah.
They could all do it at the same place, right? I mean, it's going to be a long day, but if you know that District 1 is at 10 in the morning and the chief and the deputy chief is at 7 at night, then, and it may not even be, it probably wouldn't be feasible to do it all in one place, but even on a Zoom call might be somewhat constructive to allow those people to have, recorded Zoom call. So, but absolutely, I don't see why the people really need to be informed. They need to have these questions. The questions that they have need to be answered. And so I've found this across the board is, even at my events, people are skeptical of asking the hard questions. Ask me the hard questions. I want you to ask the hard questions. I want you to know where I stand. I want you to know what I'm about. There's a lot of people that don't know me, and I'm not going to earn their vote if they don't ask me the hard questions. And so I appreciate when I get the hard questions, because I'm going to tell them what I consider to be the truth. I'm going to tell them the way that I feel like it is. And if they don't like it, then that allows them to make some determination as to whether or not they're going to vote for that person. When you do it in a public setting like this, Jeff, when you do it in a setting like what the chief and the deputy chief get to do, as a politician or as a candidate, you're not able to tell one person one thing and then tell somebody else another way based upon the sign that's in their yard or the political party that they're affiliated with, that they're voting, where they're voting. And so I think doing it in a public forum really sets the record straight of this is not, this is the true answer. It's not, I'm telling you one thing and then something else. So
absolutely. I totally agree. It's a lot of folks want to know where candidates stand right now, and is, talk from the heart. So, I mean, instead of just repetitive and going from one event to the next, saying the same thing, people like to see the substance, and let the chips fall as they may. So, well, hey, I'd love to get one of my, I don't know if you've seen it yet. I've started the carpool candidate talk where we jump in a car and go ask, 10 questions and drive around for 20 minutes. But if you're ever, if I can get down your way, I'd love to set that up and just go for a ride. I got a feeling talking to a lot of folks have been kind of leery on turning absentees in. There could be a record going to the polls, to the precincts this time around.
Well, there has to be, Jeff. I mean, that's the only way, right? I mean, that's the only way that it really, in my mind, levels the playing field. Yes, it's convenient to vote by absentee if somebody's going to show up and notarize it and take it and you're done. But at the same time, let's take pride in our tribe. Let's show up at the polls and vote. I mean, historically, with my district, a third, right? So you get 1,100 voters out of 3,300 registered voters. You get 1,100, and almost half of those are absentee. I mean, come on. I think we can do better than that. And I know that's not just Cherokees.
Yeah.
That's a problem that we have across the board. So I understand that. But I really think that we're better than that. And I think that if people want to know the real truth, if people want to see how the chips really fall, then they've got to turn out. And so I think that's one thing where across the board, there's a lot of people like to chirp, right? There's a lot of chirp, a lot of Facebook noise. There's lots of chirping.
Yes.
Which is fine if you get out and vote, right? So you can't just chirp and you can't just type. You have to get out and vote. And so I think that's absolutely critical to our elections.
Absolutely.
I mean, the Chiefs on the ballot, right? I mean, so, and that's the thing is a District 1 or 3 candidate. I mean, we're secondary. In a lot of cases, they may not even know who we are or know a thing about us. They've been recruited by a chief candidate. They've been recruited by a deputy chief candidate. That's the primary focus. And oh yeah, I forgot I don't know who these people are. Let's see, maybe I'm going to look them up on Facebook, or I'm going to Google them and try to figure out who they are but that's late in the game. The primary focus, if you look at the voter turnout in these districts 2 years from now or 2 years ago, when a chief's not on the ballot, instead of having 1,100 or 1,200 voters, you have 500 or 600, and that out of the same 3,000 registered. And I just think that's sad.
Absolutely. Well, Trae, what are your final thoughts? Where can citizens find you at right now?
Right. So I've got a website, Trae Ratliff, TraeRatliff.com. It's TraeRatliff, TraeRatliff.com. I've got a Facebook page for my political campaign, which is just Trae Ratliff for Tribal Council. And then the other thing, the thing for me, Jeff, is I've got experience in government. I've got experience in politics. I'm not next in line in this family lineage. I take a vow to the people. I'm going to carve my own path. I'm not coming into the fold. I'm not going to be a yes man with a rubber stamp. I've got what it takes to really make a positive change in the Cherokee Nation. And this is essentially a job interview. I just need the people to hire me. I need the people to bring me in. And without that, it's a moot point. I mean, I can say one thing, but I can tell you I've got what it takes to back it up.
Hey, I like that. I really do. And once again, good luck with everything you got going on. And we look forward to talking with you in the future.